Okay, welcome to the lecture on Korea. Um, this will be a rather interesting chapter, mainly because Korea is a pretty screwed up country, and nowadays we like to poke fun at North Korea and the stupid things that Kim Jong Un actually does. So you will still read about them in the news, and that is actually and all the current events that actually takes place is it was actually a result of this Korean War lah. Okay, so let's get to understand the Korean War and know how it started. Now, for the for the Korean War, right, in the textbook, how it's being organized is actually into three different parts. It can get a little bit messy, okay, but the three parts is this. This is the first part. How did tensions within Korea become part of the Cold War? And the second part is this. To what extent was the Korean War more of a civil war rather than a proxy war? And we'll get to know all the terms. And the last part is how did the Korean War impact the development of the Cold War? Okay, so it is quite difficult to actually look at how it's organized. If you look at the textbook, again, like I always do when I start off a new chapter, you refer to the last page, right? Of the textbook. I don't have a screenshot of it here, so just look at your own textbooks on page 69. It's organized into tensions within Korea as the first part, and the second part is the impact of the Korean War on the development of the Cold War. So that's actually what I showed you the third slide, right? Yeah, so it's a bit messy on how it's being organized. My notes, if you refer to them, okay, I decided to just follow the simple way of the reasons for. Okay, the reasons that caused this, like the reasons that caused the Cold War, reasons that caused the Korean War, and I've organized it into these three reasons. And then after that, I also included the impact of the Korean War as well. I included the timeline inside the notes, so all this you can get from the notes. But what you need to take note of also is the 8 mark questions because they can ask you on anything. And yeah, you have to be ready for anything, like I guess. And you can consider the first question that we're going to be looking at: how did tensions within Korea become part of the Cold War? You put it explain in front of the how. That can potentially be an 8 mark question as well. Okay, albeit I think it would be a difficult question to address. But hopefully by the end of this part of the chapter, you would know what we are talking about here. Now, explain how the tensions within Korea become part of the Cold War. What this question is basically asking is that how did Korea's business become USA and USSR's business? Okay, because Korea is it is their own problems and they are fighting within each other. It is actually a civil war. So why did actually the USA and the USSR intervene in the Korean War? Okay, or actually how did they cause it in the first place? Okay. Now, if you look at this picture, this is according to a textbook, right? It is a picture taken in 2010 when the two of them, the two Koreas, North and South Korea, they were allowed to actually meet up, and so relatives from each side actually met for the first time in many years. Um, just imagine, well, I like to use this analogy. Just imagine that you are living here in Choa Chu Kang, and your mother is living in Tampines, and one day when Singapore decided to split, your mother ends up in the communist side, you end up in the democratic side, and that's it. You are split up forever until the communist regime decides to let you guys get back together. And there was this one rare occasion in 2010 when North Korea actually allowed for that to happen. And of course, it has not happened again so far. But as you can see from the picture, it will be a rather emotional moment having not seen your relatives, close friends, and relatives for a relatively long time. Okay. Okay, background to the Korean War. I know it's a bit wordy, but stay with me here. Okay, so remember chapter 6, Russia and Japan actually competed for control of Korea for different reasons. Russia, they needed control of Korea to protect its interests in Manchuria, and Japan needed control of Korea to defend the Japanese Isles. And Korea is actually an important source of minerals and wheat for Japan. So for Korea, right, it became a Japanese protectorate. That means to say basically a colony of Japan after Japan won the Russo-Japanese War. And Korea became part of the Japanese Empire in 1910 until defeat of Japan in World War II, and Japan had to give everything up. Most of the Koreans really hated Japanese rule, and they look forward to an independent Korea after Japan's defeat. Even up to today, the two sides, Korea and Japan, they don't really like each other. Okay, they are, not say like sworn enemies, but just that the history is never good, because of the way the Japanese treated the Koreans. Now, if you remember, I mentioned in chapter 6 as well, the Japanese treated the Taiwanese very well. This is, yeah, I think it's in chapter 6, okay? Taiwan was also one of the Japanese colonies, but they were actually treated much more nicely than the Korean people. Okay, so this is um, the map location of Korea. Now, this is why is this important? So actually, like I've been saying since the longest time ever, it's good that you know the geography of where the countries are, because the geographical positions of these countries actually do make a difference to the things that happen. Okay, especially in the Cold War when we started off looking at Stalin and the proximity of the Eastern European countries and how they became communist because they shared the border with Stalin's Russia or Soviet Union. Okay, and you look here, so Korea is sandwiched between Russia and Japan, and why is this important? Is because, well, it's right next to Russia. It's again a border with a communist country, and the significance of Japan is that they would be representative um, of the democratic side, because after World War II, Japan actually got a lot of help from USA, and they actually would be considered a staunch supporter of the USA as well. And after World War II, Japan were not allowed to actually have an army, so actually the USA, they have a lot of their military in Japan as well. So therefore, the proximity of this actually does make a difference to Korea. Oh, okay, just to take note, Korea isn't this red color thing, is down here. Okay, Pyongyang and Korea. Pyongyang is, sorry, the capital of North Korea, and Seoul is the capital of South Korea. It is the heart and soul. Okay, that's a bad pun. Moving on. Um, Post-war occupation of Korea. Now, they are divided along this thing called the 30th parallel. You have no idea what's the 30th parallel. It's just a geographical reference, I guess. I'm not that good at geography, so I'm not sure exactly what it represents. But so the 30th parallel would be this small little line here, if you can see it. Okay, just go to Google Maps and you'll be able to see the 30th parallel down there. This was decided at the Potsdam Conference that they will be divided into two occupation zones. North Korea would be occupied by Soviet Union, and of course South Korea would be occupied by USA. And temporary arrangement until elections were held to form a united Korean government. Now, why are they actually even involved in the Potsdam Conference? Is because the Potsdam Conference was to discuss what to do with the losers of the war, right? And since Korea was under Japan, and since Japan lost the war, Korea is now technically free, but they needed to be decided what to do with them. Just like how Germany was divided into East and West Germany, where East Germany went to Soviet Union and West Germany went to USA. The same thing is happening here, just that it's better to divide it into North and South rather than East and West. And this again will be a temporary arrangement until elections were held to form a united Korean government. For the core history students, take note of this. This is very similar to the case study of Vietnam as well. Okay, where they have North and South Vietnam, and they are supposed to have elections as well, which never happened. And you're going to see the same thing sort of repeating down here as well. Okay. Now, there were supposed to be national elections that were to be held in May 1948, and these are the two sides. These are the two people that you would need to know. Syngman Rhee, he is the one who is from South Korea, representative of the Democratic side, and he was supported by the USA and the UN, mainly because he was Democratic. But the problem is that he was highly authoritarian. That means to say authoritarian meaning like Stalin, meaning like NS, somebody that wouldn't be a good government. But the USA, they continue to support him because they will support anybody who is anti-communist. Sorry, this was from last year. Now, for the core history students, again, reference to Vietnam, it is the same as Ngo Dinh Dien, where he was also supported by the USA, even though he was not a good government, not a good leader as well. But the very fact that he was anti-communist, okay, the USA would just support you as long as you claim to be fighting the communists. Now, do you see sort of, okay, when we reference back again to the question, okay, how did the Cold War actually affect this thing? Okay, how did Korea become part of the Cold War? It is precisely because of the tensions. Basically, it's like a fight between communists and democracy, and that is the thing that I've been emphasizing ever since from the first time that we talked about the Cold War. Okay, so for Syngman Rhee, he was supported and he actually so-called won the elections. And for that's the national elections that were actually held in South Korea. Okay, and in North Korea, they didn't hold any elections because they were communist and they didn't want to have any kind of elections lah. So with Soviet Union, Kim Il-sung was elected. No need for people to vote. He was just simply elected. And like Syngman Rhee, actually both of them they wanted to reunify Korea, but of course they wanted to reunify Korea according to their own terms. So therefore, for Kim, he would want to reunify Korea as a communist country, whereas for Syngman Rhee, I would presume that he wants to reunify Korea in a democratic country, but of course, it will be sort of like a forced democratic lah. Um, Now, one of the similarities of Kim is that he promoted a cult of personality, and he was like Stalin. Okay, that means basically he got people to like him and to agree with him, and the people called Kim the Great Leader, which is a term that's even being used up till today in reference of the leader. And for communism, okay, they also practice this doctrine of self-sufficiency, which means to say all the food we grow ourselves, and we're not going to be dependent on anybody to import food for us. And for countries like Singapore, that's never going to happen because we don't have enough space to grow enough food for ourselves. So poor thing, right? And for North Korea, they want to follow this doctrine and they want to try to make sure that they will not be dependent on the outside world. Which means to say, my last point here, no Coke, no iPhone, no Western influence at all. And they really do hate the Americans to a really huge extent, mainly because of the Korean War as well, mainly because that they want to practice communism lah. Okay, now this is an interesting tidbit on by itself. If you look at today's leader Kim Jong Un and Kim Il Sung, the first leader. So by the way, in the middle there is actually Kim Jong Il. Okay, Kim Jong Il is the son of Kim Il Sung. It was rumored that he actually went for plastic surgery to make himself look more like his grandfather here, so that he will gain more respect from the people. I think if you go check out on the internet, hold on a minute, Okay, nothing better to do, go and Google Kim Jong-un new haircut and you will get this. This is apparently some new style that he's adopting. Looks absolutely ridiculous. I have no idea who is this, but you should try to identify and know that this guy is Vladimir Putin. That's the current, I think it's Prime Minister or President of Russia. Okay, and look at the next picture. You have somebody photoshopping Barack Obama with his kind of hairstyle as well. And this guy here is George Clooney. I do not know why is he here in the search results. Okay, so he is a very interesting figure. And his father, Kim Jong Un's father, and Kim Il Sung's son, Kim Jong Il, how he cultivated the personality cult was just spreading, I would say, rumors about himself, like he's so great and wonderful, and people actually do believe them and believe these things that are being told to them because they have no internet access. There's no way for them to check whether or not is it true. So things like Kim Jong-il played a round of golf and then he scored like an impossible score. And after scoring the impossible score, it was said that he retired from the sport forever. And then after that, there will be officials coming forward to say, yes, I was right beside Kim and he did manage to achieve that score, which was obviously utter bullshit and everybody believed it. So that's how he actually cultivated this thing called the cult of personality. Okay, then people believe like, whoa, this guy is good at golf, good at this, good at that, and he's like a god to us, and we're going to continue to worship him and stuff like that. Okay, alright, so I'm running out of time for this, and I will pause here. Please move on to the second part of the lecture to look at the second point of the first part of this chapter, alright?